Hello, I'm Yvette Stafford, the owner of Motley Muse, and I painted this awesome, beautiful painting. I had a lot of fun painting it. It was really, really fun. Yeah. So I wanted to take a quick moment and say thank you so much for patronizing my business. I really greatly appreciate it, and I hope that you have as much fun as I did painting this painting. Today's painting is really easy for beginners. These are the supplies that I use and that I recommend that you use. Now, if you don't have these supplies, don't worry about it. If you don't have a canvas, a simple sheet of paper will work fine. I recommend using these brushes for this specific painting. I am going to use my big square. I'm going to use a big round. I'm going to use a smaller round. And then I'm going to use my baby round, which is also my detailer. And I might, for some details, use my small bright. This means that the bristles are cut very short and they're very tight. This is a good one for details. And I might also use my square. Now, this is a go-to set of mine that I feel that every painter should have in their arsenal, to have these brushes in particular. They work very well for many different reasons. Now I recommend water. I use water. This is a plastic cup that I use many times for many of my paintings. It makes cleanup a lot easier because then it's just a designated cup. I like to use paper towels. I usually use about 2 to 3 of them per painting. It really depends. And I use paper plates. I found that using a paper plate is way easier than using a non-disposable item, because then I can just throw it away. This is the canvas I'm using. This is a stretched canvas over wood. You can see, so there's a wood frame here, and the canvas has been stretched and then stapled around here, and I find that these type of canvases, it's already pre-gessoed and ready for me to go, so I do not have to prep anything, which I feel is well worth the money. So the best way to open and get the plastic off is to take any brush that you have and poke a hole right there in the top corner, and then drag it across and then drag it down. This is going to make opening the canvas way easier, because otherwise, if you're not doing this method, you would have to be on the corners pulling it all out, and sometimes it's easy to poke holes in the canvas because it is stretched, and we don't want to poke any holes. We want to keep our canvases nice and pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. Now, this is a very, very easy painting. The trick with this painting is the details. The more detailed you get with this painting, the more it's going to look like realism versus abstract. So the first thing I'm going to do is get blue paint. Now, I do not have already pre-mixed blue paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add white to my palette. Now, I usually always reserve the middle part of my palette for the white paint, so that way I can use this area around the white paint for mixing, and then I keep all my solid colors around the edges, and that helps me out a lot. But in today's painting, I really don't see me using any white, so because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and use the middle of my palette. Now I have some blue, and I'm going to add just a little bit of blue right there. Now, the more blue that you add to your mixture, the darker the blue is going to be. The more white you add to your mixture, the lighter that the blue is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and change my little, so you guys can see me better. I'm going to change the color saturation here. Okay, so now I'm going to take my big square brush. You can use any brush for this. I'm going to apply an application of light blue all over my canvas. So go ahead and use any brush you want. I just find that this brush does the job really well and really fast. I'm going to take it and mix my color, and I'm going to take care that I don't use up all of my palette. I still want to save space in my palette for other colors for later. So that way I'm not using more than one palette. Now I'm going here and I'm mixing and mixing, making sure that I give a good saturation of color. I don't really want to have stripes when I'm painting. I just want everything to be really blue. I don't want to have stripes of white and dark blue. I like this color. This is a really nice color. So I'm going to go ahead and apply it onto my canvas. Oops. I flicked some paint off. I was going so fast. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this moment to paint the sides as well, just to get a nice little coating on everything. There we go. I'm loving that. That's a good look. I'm going to go ahead and turn my canvas. I am the firm believer that as I'm painting, I love to turn my canvas and see it at all different angles to make it easier for myself. I strongly recommend that you do the same thing. Your paintings will come out way easier and you will see your painting from all different angles and really be able to get a good look at what you're doing. Notice how I'm not using my easel. I typically do not use my easel because when I was trained at the university, the only time that we used our easels was when we looked at a live subject. So because of that, I feel more comfortable using a table, or if you have a draft table, even better. The problem with that is you're going to need to get up from your painting from time to time and check it out at different angles. So that way you don't just have it like you're looking from above or looking from below kind of aspect. You want to see all the different places that you can improve what you're doing. So I want a nice blue coat. Now, this is also somewhat in an idea of gessoing a canvas. Now, that priming a canvas, that's not really what I need to do at this moment because the canvas I bought already came pre-prepared for me, so I don't have to do anything. But I've noticed that having this first layer down will be good so that way when I see the sky between the leaves of the trees, it's really nice and kind of uniformed, and it's got like a look that just makes sense and goes together. That way I don't really have to paint it in and worry about it. Doing this step is what makes this painting way easier. It's a really nice shortcut. Now, as you notice, the more that I'm painting and working in the paint, the more it's kind of drying as I'm doing it, which is a good thing. I want to just make sure I got an even coating everywhere, and I do want the paint to dry. I strongly recommend allowing the paint to dry all the way before we start on the trees. I feel that you'll have a better and easier time with the trees if the paint is all the way dry. So I'm going to put my stuff aside. I'm going to take my brush because I will not be using this color again. So I'm going to go ahead, wash my brush. Notice how when I put it in here, I kind of move it around a little bit. This brush has bristles that are very long. So because of that, I kind of have to clean it and work with it more to get all that paint out. I like to bend the brushes so I get some of the water out. What this is going to do is save my paper towel, because later I like to use my paper towel and wipe. And yeah, you can really go through a lot of these like paper towels, you know, which is whatever. They're only a couple, like 8 cents a sheet. I think they're like 4 cents, which isn't a problem, but it's just annoying, right? To have a bunch of globs of paper. Now this, I'm showing you this on purpose because you can see that there is still paint here on my bristles. After I'm done painting this, I'm going to go and give this brush a really good wash, which I strongly recommend you do that. These are cheap, sad little brushes. But let me tell you, they work. They get the job done. So I'm going to take a few seconds here, and I am going to use a hairdryer, and I am deciding to use a high heat setting just to speed things up. Now, when you use a high speed setting with a hairdryer, oftentimes you can dull your paint, but that's okay because this is a fall look, so I'm fine with that. And if you have better quality paint, it doesn't dull as much as cheap paint, meaning if there's a lot of water in the paint, so it'll dry a little differently. So if you like the color and the shade that you have on your canvas, use a low cool setting. Don't use the high heat setting. So I'm just going to do that for a minute, and when I feel that it's adequately dry, I'm going to stop. You will notice with your paints, I am using acrylic paint, and you will notice that it'll stop being shiny. Now the shiny is not showing up on the camera that well just because of the digitalness of the camera. But I can see it live. I'm looking at my painting and I can see shininess all over the place. And so I really don't want that. Now, the more that I do dry my painting, when I go on to my next steps, if there ever is a moment where I make a happy accident and I want to erase and not do what I did, if the base of the painting is super, super dry, then I can lightly wipe away the top coat of paint I accidentally added, and the bottom will be fine. So that is why I prefer to always dry my base coat down as much as possible so I can fix my little happy accidents. Should be very good. Now, if you have a hair dryer, I would recommend, if you do not have a hair dryer, I recommend allowing like 30 minutes for it to dry completely. Now, the other reason I wanted it to dry is because I'm going to start adding some leaves, and I'm going to use the color yellow to start with because it is the lightest color. And I'm going to kind of build. I'm going to build this like a cake. And so if I had my blue was still wet, and then I go to use my yellow, I'm going to start making green, and which is a total cool color for what I'm trying to do here with this painting. But at the same time, I'm not really at this moment wanting the green to be right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my big round. You can take whatever you want, but this is going to be a huge tree that I'm making. So I'm going to dip it in and load my brush. Notice that I did not load my brush all the way to the ferrule down here. I only loaded half of the bristles and it's only on one side. That is a good load. I'm really happy with the brush looking like this. Okay, now I am doing kind of an impressionistic style, so I am going to put effort and think about what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm here to relax and have a good time. So I don't want you to fret where you're putting each leaf. Just allow the magic to happen. Let it happen. Let it be what it is. I'm first going to do a basic outline of where my tree goes, about the areas of where I want the tree to be, and then I'm going to go back and work on the leaves to make them look extra leafy and extra special. But right now it's just a basic idea. Now you could start with the tree in the sense of having it so that way it's like you do the bark and everything, which is totally cool. But I'm choosing not to really do that with this one. I'm going to be adding on the bark and the middle of the tree at the end. And I'm going to do it very sparingly, and it's going to look super awesome and cool. Now, I also, as I go, I like to paint the sides. Now, this is where this tree is going to reside. This is the basic outline of where he's going to go. I'm going to have a tree here, and then 3 trees, and I might put a mountain. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see where it goes. And that's what I want you to do with your painting. I want you to do little swooshes and just have a good time and just let the painting grow and become unique. All I'm doing is dotting, just dotting. Lots of different dots. So sometimes my brush is going to be pointed right, sometimes my brush will be pointed left. It doesn't matter. It's okay. This technique is impressionistic. So there are a lot of famous impressionists throughout time. It was a very popular movement back in the turn of the century. Monet was with his water lilies. He was a very good impressionistic person. I mean, everybody's got their own little unique style in the way that they do their paintings. So impressionism is the basic of, you're not really painting the tree. You're painting what the tree feels like and how you think it would be versus how would it be if you took a photographic image. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to not take a photograph. I'm trying to just let this thing happen. Let it mature. Let it be what it is. So just let it be. Don't think. Get out of your monkey mind. Relax. Have a good time. And just be making your leaves. Now it is natural that the middle of the tree would probably have some more leaves than on the outside of the tree. So I'm going to, now that I have a basic idea, I'm going to start concentrating my leaves to be more centrally located. So that way there's like groupings and bunchings, and like over here I'm making a branch, so I kind of want my branch to be a little bit thick in some places, and I want a little branch over here, but I do want to keep some blue between where I'm going. So some of the blue, it would be like if you could see between the tree, and then you have little moments of wowness going behind the tree. So I don't want to cover up too much of the blue, but I do want to be like, okay, well, we're here. We want this tree to be fabulous. And it will be fabulous as long as you relax and you just let it happen. Yep, just let it happen. There's so much in the world that demands so much of our attention all the time. And my painting space and your painting space should be the place of tranquility where there's no one there to bug you. Not even your own stresses have room or time to be able to be in your happy space. It's just you and me and our buddies who are painting with us. Yep. No time for anxieties or stresses here. I'm too busy with my painting that I don't have time to fret and stress about anything. And neither should you have time for stressing or fretting about anything. Just let it be. So far, it's coming. Now, I do like it. I'm really happy with it. But yeah, I'm going to take a break for a second. Just 'cause. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush. Remember how I showed you to wash the other brush? I recommend doing the same way. Put it in your water, wash it around, and then take your paper towel and pull it. Don't ever push your brush. Push your brush on a paper towel is really going to ruin it. So never, when you wash your brush, never push into the paper. Always take it and pull. And I like to rotate as I pull to get the rest of the water out. This is especially important if you are using cheap paints because there's more water in the paint. And so you don't want to add more water because I'm trying to make this really thick. So I'm using a thick bodied paint. I have a nice pretty point. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start another tree. I will be returning to this. I'm just taking a break because I started feeling stress. And when I start feeling stress, I'm over it. I'm like, next. So because of that, I am going to go over to next. And I'm going to go into the orange. Now I'm only taking out as much as I need. I don't take out more than I need because, you know, I mean, it's not really super expensive, but yeah, over time, painting supplies can get quite pricey. So just take out only what you think you're going to need. Now this tree is going to be a little bit smaller. I have my same brush that I'm using. I'm going to dip it in, and then I'm going to see how I loaded the brush, just halfway, just a little bit. Don't be loading your brush all the way. Now when I press, I'm going to show you right here. See how I press it? Just a little dot. I don't need to press all the way because then there's no paint over here, and it's going to make a huge leaf, and I don't want that. I want more of a roundedness to what I'm doing here. And I'm not really wiping. Now over here, like that guy got kind of wiped a little bit, but I just want dots, little dots. But I want each dot to not be completely circular. Now you can, which is totally cool, and that type of art is called pointillism, where it's literally just points. They're circles. It's a dotty dotness, and that's totally cool. But for this particular painting, that's not what I'm going for at this moment. I'm going to go ahead and do the basic outline of where I want my tree to be. Basic idea, it's going to be here. We're going to be Mia. Come over here a little bit, but then back down. And this is going to be a green guy here. Now we can still be changing this, you know, so don't get all set in your ways. Let it happen. If you feel that there needs to be a limb right here, there's a limb right there. Do you want to know why? Because we are painting your world. This is what your world looks like. And this is where your limb on your tree, that's where he lives. So if you need a tree that's orange and you want him here, put him there. Put him wherever that tree resides and lives in your world. Now this is my world of Nog. Nog is a place that I have invented that all my paintings reside. So, for instance, if I have a happy accident, then that's what it looks like on my world of Nog. Yep, that's how it is. That's my world. That's what it looks like. The tree was meant to look like that because that's how it is. So I want you to paint how your trees on your world will be, not how they look like in a photograph. Now, here's the kicker. The more that you have that mindset, and the more that you're like, this is how my world is, the more awesomer and realistic your painting is going to start looking. Your leaves will start growing up, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, I totally painted that. And that's what we're going for. It's almost like we're tricking our minds. And it's a labor of love, too. I mean, this is going to look like what? Like, what is this lady doing? But trust me, it's going to happen. It's like building a cake, putting on layers. You know, we put this layer, that layer, this layer. And then the last 5 minutes, everything's going to come together. And it's just going to look so super awesome. So that's what we're going for here. Okay, so now let's go on to the green. So I feel that we should use many shades, but right now I'm going to start with a dark base color first, and then I will go into lighter colors. So right now with this yellow, the orange, and the green, I'm just going with the base color, and then I will be changing and adding other colors, and then they'll get really three-dimensional and they'll pop. So trust me, just give it a minute and let it happen, and it will happen. I'm loading my paint the same way, turning my brush every so often, so that way my little points and my little blobs, they all look different. Every single little blob should have its own uniqueness to its blobbiness. It wants its own personality. And your job is to give it its own personality. This is coming together. This is a really good painting for someone who's never painted. So if you're stressing out right now, stop. Don't do it, because this is a good one for beginners. And trust me, you just have to have faith, and you just have to work it, and eventually it's gonna happen. I know that trees are very stressful for some people. I know they have been for me in the past. But trust me, just stick with it. The more you stick with it, the more it's gonna, right? You could do this as a finger painting project, which would be totally awesome. Totally fun. Okay. We know that that's a green tree. I ran out of paint. I'm gonna let it be. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that between every single one of your colors that you do, make sure that you properly wash out your brush between changing colors. I think it'll really greatly help you a lot. Now, when things are super far away and they're off in the distance, they kind of just blur a little bit, like our eyes don't see all the cool little details, and things tend to get a little bit lighter. Now, our issue is that our sky is already super light. So, because of that, we're going to have to go a touch darker just to give a contrast between the sky, which is all the way over there. So, we're going to still have some trees, but they're so far away that we're kind of mostly just kind of seeing shadows. There isn't much detail. Now, the closer we get, like these trees are going to be overlapping each other. So the closer we get, the more the details are really going to be an issue. But right now, let's go ahead and paint some trees far away. Now, I'm going to give you a little trick here. I'm going to go ahead and add a touch of blue to my green. Now, this is going to be super cool. Because what this is going to do, you know what, I'm going to move this away because this guy, he's towards the end. So I'm going to, that way on accident. If I were to squirt this out, I could get some of the green spots where I don't want to because it's like there's no paint in here. So I recommend moving it aside and adding paint. That way you don't get those accidental explosions onto your canvas. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix these two shades together. Now what this is going to do is going to give me a darker green, but it's not going to go super dark. It's just going to go a little bit darker. A little turquoisey kinda. Okay, so I'm there. I'm not quite to the color I want. I'm going to add a tiny, okay, the tiniest. I'm telling you, we want the tiniest. Littlest amount of black. Just a little bit. And we are gonna mix those together. So I really wanted more blue than black in the mixture. Now what this is doing is, look at that. See that green? Ooh, really dark and dull. Yep. Yuppers. That's what we're going for. Really dark and dull and yep. Okay. So I'm going to try to see if I can wipe some of this excess goo off the brush. Okay, so I can go through and wipe and load my brush. And I am going to be very particular. Now, these ones were hot messes. They were just happy explosions of leaves. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to be a little bit more precise, a little bit with the shape, because they are far off in the distance. So I'm going to go ahead with this guy, and he's going to reside here. And I'm going to try to do one of these guys. Do you see I'm going back and forth and just, I'm going to make a triangle. Little swooshes. See what I'm doing? You know, it doesn't feel like there's that much difference in shade. So I think I should have added more blue and black. Could add a little purple in there. Okay, so I'm gonna see how he's going down. So he's a pine tree over here. This guy, he's healthy. He's not gonna change his color. He doesn't really need any yellow into him because he's a healthy tree. Now, as I get further down here, look at what's happening. He's like a cone. He's going to get a little bit bigger, a little bit more. Upside down ice cream cone with his shape. I am swooshing a little bit, so I'm dabbing and I'm kind of pulling, but notice they're still kind of roughly the same size. So yeah, I did pull a tiny bit there, but not a lot. I think I want to bring this orange up a little bit more. I just feel that I need more of an explosion of orange. So I'm not going to bring him down too terribly far. I think that should be good. I'm going to go back and try to cover up the middle of the tree, because the middle of the tree would have some branches that are coming straight towards us from the trunk of the tree itself. See that? See how there would be like a trunk? And then I do want to see some blue in the, I want to see some blue between the branches. Now when it gets down, remember it is a triangle, so when we're to the bottom, we can fill up the middle, can get a little bit fatter. Now I'm going to go back, and some of these, like this guy's not attached, I'm going to attach him. You know, give it a little bit of fluffiness. Let's give it a little character. Remember to leave some blue between your branches, because our birdies are going to need a place to sit down. If we don't leave any place in our branches, where are our birdies going to sit? Right? I got a lot of birdies in mine. There we go. It works. I'm going to let it be. Now, I did mix a darker color, but I think I'm going to go a little bit more darker and say that there are more, there's another one right here, and he's just way more further. So, the way I'm going to do that is, let's see, we could go with black, or we can go with some purple. Decisions. Let's go with purple and experiment, shall we? I love experimenting with colors. All right. Okay, so I got the purple. Now let's see what happens if we mix it. No, not much. A little gray. Turns a little gray. I think if we would have added the black, it would have gone really dark. Now, I know this is not colors of a pine tree, but it's so far away, like really far. So this is what our eyes are not going to pick up all the little details. Also because we're trying to keep in the motif of impressionism. So it's more about what it feels like versus what it actually is. I don't want this to look like a photograph. I want this to look like I painted it. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to do this guy a little bit shorter. He's so off in the distance. We're going to say there was like a ridge. There's a hill. And this little guy that we're going to paint right here, he is just beyond that hill. So he's sloping down there. He's just as tall as him. It's just he starts at a smaller area. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. The closer I get to the bottom, the fatter it's going to be. Now remember right there, see how I gave a perch for my birdies? I have a lot of birds that live on the island of Nog, the world of Nog. And so they need many homes. Yep. I like to rotate my brush back and forth when I'm making these swooshy dots. So little swooshes, but more dotty than swoosh. Now this yellow paint right here is still wet. So I kind of need to be careful here because I don't really want to mix like that just happened right there. So I might have to come back to that a little bit later. Now these guys are going to meet. But I'm going to be careful because he's farther away. So since this guy is farther away, what's going to happen is this green is going to come in front of him. So I don't want to be overlapping this color over. I want to keep the green over. So I'm just going to do his edges. And most likely we'll come back in with the green when it's dry and overlap a little bit. There we go. Let's see. He's doing good. Got some stuff in there, so I'm gonna have to glob it up just a little bit. We're gonna bring this guy out just a little bit, which means I have to bring these guys out a little bit to keep the cone. Remember, we're trying to make this cone happen. It's gonna be a little bit here because we want to be able to see through the yellow tree, right? So since we want to have that see-through effect, this is going to be a branch that's overlapping from where we can see. We have to go through this branch to get to that tree. So yes, we would paint it, and yeah, okay, paint what you feel, but we still, less is more here at this moment that we don't, it's dark. If I were to paint all that area, this dark bluish purple thing, green, then what's going to happen is it's going to take a lot more coats and a lot more coats, and then these aren't going to match what these ones are. So instead of that, I'm just going to go around. So far I like it. It's working. I feel like he needs a buddy. I've got a lot of space over here, and I don't like that. So let's see. We are going to put, let me think. Decisions. How does this world of Nog look? World of Nog is going to have a tree right here. It's going to be here, and he's going to be closer. This guy's going to be closer to us, so he can overlap a little bit. Or, no, we can make this guy. Oh, well, the orange is going to be much bigger, so we'll have a little bit down here. So I'm going to make this guy kind of short. He's a little kid. Oops, I wish I would have made that a little more pointier. There we go. Yeah. Little swoosh dots, okay? And notice how I'm rocking my brush back and forth. This is a family of really thick pine trees. They're a very hardy family. So you can't see a whole lot through them because they're very thick. And they're all related. Yep. You know, this painting is starting to look like a hike I went on. I went to Sun Valley and I hiked to the top of that mountain, the Sun Valley Mountain. And yeah, it looked like this when I was up there. Okay, I'm going to start going on the side a little bit just to keep it kind of consistent. Consistency. So he looks like he's starting to be in front of these guys. Yep, he decided that he is not back in the distance. He wants to be seen. He is up closer to us. So. How close is he though? Let's bring him all the way down. However, we're just going to go that far. I'm going to let this orange guy, he's going to grow up a lot. So I'm just going to he's going to be like he's overlapping. Remember to cover up those the middle little places. They want to be kind of, you know, there's a tree there, and we want to be able to show the idea that these branches are coming towards us. Now I am of the mindset that I like to paint my canvases on the side as I go. Make sure I'm still on camera so you can see it. Yep. Wow, I'm having so much fun doing this. This is like really nice. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hate it when I'm painting alone, don't you? I like it when I have a buddy. You're my buddy today. Yep. I'm totally excited to see how your painting turns out too. When you're done with the painting, send me an email or like a text or something. I'm like on all the social media pages, so like tag me in the post and I'll see it. I totally want to see what it looks like. Okay. Well, here, we'll give a little bit. There's like a branch, there's another branch, but we'll give a little bit here, just like we did with the orange. How about that? You breathe. Ooh, I love it. I love it. It was beautiful. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush. Now, it was a really dark color, so this is what my water looks like right now. If your water looks like this, I'm assuming you're doing very well too. And you know what though? You know, I don't feel I need to say this, but I've had many students ask. Use whatever colors you want. This is my world of Nog, and this is what the trees look like on my world. But in your world, if the trees are pink, if they're purple, if they're whatever color, brown, you know, whatever color your trees are, if they're all neon and that, I totally want to visit and vacation there. I mean, that would be so cool. So use the colors that are from your planet in your world. Oops, see that? Did you see how when I wiped it, some of the color came off? It's because what happened was it was thick. The paint got all up in there and it got in the ferrule and it got stuck. So it's good to get it out. I'm going to rinse it one more time. When I do rinse it on the brush, I kind of do bend the bristles a little bit at the bottom. But not too much. I mean, I don't destroy my paints at all. So painting is my profession. This is what I do for a living. So I try to see if I can get like 10 paintings out of one brush. I have hierarchies of painting, the brand new ones, and then, you know, they get faded and old and sad, and those can be turned into useful brushes for other techniques and stuff. So take care of your stuff. Okay, so let's go back with this orange and make this little guy explode. He's going to he's going to explode with awesomeness, and he's going to be so cool. Maybe we should name our trees. Yes. Okay, let's see. So this one, her name is going to be Dorothy. Yep, this is Dorothy. So what's his name? His name is going to be Garfield. Garfield the tree. Yep, Garfield. So we're going to make Garfield, and he's going to come back and say hi because he missed us and he hasn't been around for a while, and he needs to tell us how much he is awesome and cool. You know, sometimes you got to talk to your painting a little bit and like tell it it's pretty and beautiful, because your painting's not going to know that if you don't tell your painting that they're cool and awesome and beautiful. Likewise, your children. Do that to your kids. If you have not told your daughter or your son today that they are amazing and awesome and totally cool and worth it and just your favorite person, you're parenting wrong if you haven't done that today. So stop what you're doing, go over and say, you know what? You are just so rad. Yep, you're cool. Do that today, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to consider that you're getting an F in my class and you're failing the painting if you haven't told your kids today how cool they are. They need to hear it from you. Trust me, I know. They need to hear it. It is coming. It's happening. Now, I'm going to overlap a tiny bit, which I think will change the color drastically. The more you overlap, the cooler your trees are going to start looking like realism and really looking like they're trees, because that's what they do. That's what nature happens. Otherwise, I've got like a straight line here, and I'm not happy with this straight line, so I have to bust it up. The thing is, I have orange. I have a clean brush with orange, and then I've got these, so I don't want to go mixing right now. So I'm just going to allow that to dry, and then I'm going to still kind of work. Also using the last thumb of paint here. And trying to... Also, when you're painting trees too, I recommend that you put in effort to decide where are your branches as you're going, because if you, the painter, are not sure of the story of what you're saying with your art project, with what you're doing, then the viewer is going to be like, what? I don't get it. I don't get what was the thesis sentence of this painting. I'm lost. You know, like, I'm sure you've heard a politician with a speech and then you're like, what? What? I don't get it. So yeah, that's what we're kind of try to have an idea and to know what and where you're going. So that way the viewer doesn't have to think. Okay, so I need more green to start getting this going, but I feel as though I've got a lot of caked on gooiness everywhere. So because of that, I'm going to take a quick moment and I'm going to go ahead and just dry with the hair dryer. I love painting with hair dryers. I use hair dryers a lot. I strongly recommend that if you are serious with painting, that you invest in one. This was a cheapy one that I got. It's pretty good. It's lasted me. I tend to go through these quite frequently because, you know, I'm painting like 5 paintings a day. So, yeah, don't spend a whole lot of money on your stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and turn my painting. The whole reason for that is so I can get another look and a different perspective from a different angle. So as I'm drying it, I'm going to be looking at it and seeing what could I fix? What would be something? What am I not doing here? And so when you are allowing your paint to dry, take a moment and stare at it for a second. Walk across the room, look at it, and then come back to it. And then you, oh, okay, right there. So I need to fix that. I always recommend doing that several times throughout the painting process. Now right now, it's not completely super dry because I did cake on the paint quite a lot, but that's okay. I've got it, the gist, the basic idea. Now, while I was painting it, I was looking at my painting and thinking, what can I do in the next step and how to work it? And so originally, I was going to take this tree and go up and over, but it's going to change the color because it's really dark under here and this is light. So instead, because I have this line, which I don't want, I'm going to bring this tree down. He's going to be a little bit down. So it'll work. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm staying with my round. I have my large round brush here. The canvases I'm using is a 16 by 20. So I can use bigger brushes. The bigger that your canvas is, the bigger brush you should use. And as you're painting, if you paint a smaller canvas, I strongly recommend using the same type of brushes, just use them smaller. So like, for example, this guy, he's a round. They're the same thing, it's just he's a smaller brush. So, okay. So now I've got my original color still here, my purplish bluish green. And I'm going to come down and swooshy a little bit. Lots of swooshes. I come down. Now it's easy to cover a light color. Do you see that? See how easy that was? But if I were to use a light color over the dark color, it's way harder. A lot more work, which I could put some there. When it dries, when this dries, it'll be like between the leaves, you can kind of see what's going on in the background. So that'll be kind of a charming, cool look right there. Remember to keep that cone continuing. Now, if you were doing a tree and your tree wasn't like healthy, you know, you could take that into consideration, that what would your tree look like at the bottom. I personally like to paint healthy looking trees. I just feel that those paintings kind of are cooler. They seem to, when I have art gallery shows and craft fairs and I do different things, I've noticed that when my plants and my flowers look in those I made a boo-boo. This side of the corner is going out too far. Too far. So to balance, I'm going to go in this way a little bit so I can continue my cone. But anyways, I've noticed that when I go to sell art, the people tend to buy the paintings of the healthy flowers and beautiful foliage. They don't, of course, no, but it's very artsy. I mean, it's not really, you know, to life, you know, because there are, like, I got wrinkles all over my body. I've got cellulite, you know, so it's kind of that concept with the plant, that plants really in nature aren't all perfect and wow. Every plant's got its little issues here and there, you know. But I just feel that this is very hyper idealized. Oh, look, I got a little face going on. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go, I need to work on this green. But this is a really dark color. So, and I'm running out of my paint. Like, I'm like to the end. And I really don't want to mix more with the red and the green. I mean, I can. But I'm going to try to empty this guy. So I'm going to leave this guy, this tree. He's going to have some fresh new growth on him. And because of that, he's going to have a brighter color to him. So he's still going to be in the green family. He's just going to be a little lighter. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. Let's put him right here. There. I noticed that I have some water here trying to get all up into my yellow. I'm going to go ahead and dab that. Try to get some of that. It was dirty green water. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush, wipe it. And then I'm going to go in with my green and just swoosh. Same thing. But I'm going to take care that I'm mostly covering up blue areas. Now, I do want the blue to be between the branches up here and everything, but down here there's so much foliage and so many trees, and this guy's behind him. He's probably got some more guys going on, and plus there is a hill. I'm making a hill happen. So because that hill right here, you know, because the hill is happening, you know, there's still that dirt and everything behind the tree that we can't see. And so because of that, I'm just going to try to cover up all of the blue. And so our eye is just going to assume that there's so much stuff back there because it doesn't see any more blue. Now, if you were to be able to see blue through this tree down here, what it's going to tell you is that, you know, there's not so much, it's not so much wooded and dense wood. Same idea with swooshes. I want each little swooshy dot they're small swooshes. These are more like dots than swooshes. And remember, I'm rocking my brush. You know, I'm stamping this way, I'm stamping that way, I'm stamping this way. I want each one of my swooshes to have a personality, and I am doing the ones on the sides. Do you feel that if you paint the sides as you go, it looks kind of cool and just makes the painting look like it's being wrapped? Now, I got a square. I don't want that. So I'm going to come up here with that green. So this is like the center of the tree is more over here. This is a branch, that's a branch, and the center is more here. So this tree can go up a little higher, which means I'm going to have to take one of these dark colors up there. Or not, like it's all a fresh new growth right there. Like for example, I have a pear tree in my yard that it's brand new. I planted it a year ago, and I noticed the new growth this year, the leaves were very light green. I strongly recommend, if you have an opportunity to go on a hike or just to stare at trees, like, you know, if somebody's driving and you're going down the freeway, stare at the trees. I know it sounds ridiculous and it sounds weird, but trust me, I mean, now that I paint full time, I notice that the more I am observing what it is and I'm refreshing my mind about what I am painting and like doing extra like intensive study on it, then I feel that my paintings do come out a little bit better. So if you have that opportunity, do that. Just take a moment, stare at it. I mean, don't be weird if you were like doing a person or something, you know. I don't want to be the weirdo weirdness, right? But at the same time, you know, if you're gonna, like if you're doing a dog, play with the dog. If you're gonna paint the dog, hang out and spend some quality time with that dog. And, you know, and then you just to see the dog and take a lot of photographs as reference photos so that when you're doing it, I mean, because like the dog's not going to stay still for you, right? Even in nature, nature does not stay still. So take your time and immerse yourself in it. And then after you've done that, then go paint it. I'm liking it. Got more paint. This is good. I'm liking it. It's coming together. Okay, so right now, I'm going to sit down for a quick second, and I'm going to go ahead and, oops, excuse me. I'm going to make sure I'm still in the view of the camera. Yes, okay. I'm going to go ahead, and right now I'm going, on purpose, I'm going to be dotting where I see blue. All of the areas that I see blue is where I'm going to dot. And I think I'm going to do that until I run out of this green color. And then we'll move on. Notice how I like to go back and forth. Work on this tree, work on that tree. That is very much my personal style, my method, and the way that I like to paint. Honestly, really though, there are so many different techniques out there that each painting kind of has its own little way of how I want to do things. And this just happens to tell me that it wants me to work a little bit here and a little bit there. The vibe I'm getting and how I'm comfortable. Paint to what you're comfortable. So when you're happy with the greenness that you have, move on. And by doing that and pushing yourself through it and not fretting with every little line in detail, what's going to happen is your paintings are going to improve. You're going to be better because you're less in your mind. Like I'm sure you've heard it that said that we're our own worst enemy, and we always think that our art sucks and everybody else is much better, that it's human nature to have those feelings. What is not good is when we dwell on it. I don't have a lot to say on this topic, but I did hear a lady speaking, and she was citing that statistically, people who commit suicide, their loved ones and family members oftentimes report that the person was very much a perfectionist with everything. They always needed things to be just right and perfect. And I myself have never met anyone who has committed suicide. Well, I mean, knew anybody who did that. But I could see how maybe that would make sense, that sometimes perfectionism is not good. I mean, there have been times in my life where I just got to let go. You know, like I've always stressed in trying to be the perfect parent and make sure that like the kid eats well, that she reads perfect, she got flawless grades in school. Like I'm trying to do all the things that but I'm a first timer here, and I always, all the time, every day, my biggest fear and the thing that when I go, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I suck at this. I'm horrible. And then it gives me the fear that maybe I don't want to have another kid because I've screwed up the first one. And I always thought that I was alone on this idea. And it turns out, no, there are many parents who feel the same way, that they're doing the best they can. And they're constantly like just trying to figure it out and make it up as we go and learning on the fly, like just different things. So I feel that when it comes to painting, it's like that a little bit. It's the same sense of, okay, well, yeah, I'm working on this and I'm gaining in knowledge and I'm trying, I'm putting effort. And, I've been painting for so many years and I'm still like, every painting is educational for me. Every experience, every time I'm like, oh, I did that bad, but then I did this good and I'm trying it. And when it comes to these trees and you're painting here, I want you to think, let it be. Just let it happen. Do your best job that you can do. And if it sucks, it sucks. If it's great, it's great. So someday the kid grows up and eventually they make their own choices in life. And if they're an adult child and they commit murder or something, it's like, well, you did your best. You put forth your effort. Just because your adult child did something that was so bad in the world, you did your best as a parent. And that's all we can do. So when we're painting, that's the same kind of idea. I'm going to go with the yellow here. The same basic idea. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to work on this thing. And, it is what it is at so much, And then if you're not liking your painting at this stage, what you can do is just, work it and practice and play. And then maybe paint some other paintings. And then in like a year, come back and repaint this one. Do it over again. And then because you have had experience painting and trying with those other paints and you've gone through the work of learning and practicing and working with the medium, then when you come to paint this again, you are going to be so much more better at it. Your second go around is, for me, my second go around to these paintings always end up way better than the first ones. Like I see the world a little differently because I've grown up a little bit. Like I feel that it's, I feel better at it because I've been working at it. So don't get down on yourself if your painting doesn't look like mine, because I don't want it to. If your painting looks at this point completely a carbon copy, exact, every one of your swooshes is exactly where I put a swoosh, I'm going to feel that you failed, because that's not what we're doing here. This is my world, and this is what I am creating, what my world looks like, and your world needs to look different than mine because you have different life experiences than I do. You've seen the world. You have been to locations of forests that I've never been to. And so you have more experience of some places than I do, and so I want to see what the forest looks like in your world. So don't get down on yourself. Don't stress yourself out. Remind yourself you're doing the best you can and you're working it and it's happening, okay? You just keep on moving forward and moving forward in a positive way. And when you do that, you will start seeing awesome results. It will happen. I want to go back in and touch up this yellow here. The problem I'm having is that this paint is way super wet. And I added, remember we fixed. So I really need to dry that a lot before I can continue gobbing. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they're going to start blending on the canvas. And that's not really something I'm going for with this painting. should be good for the moment right now. Okay, here we go. Clean my brush. I'm gonna go back in with some yellow and glob it on. I'm gonna be very globby. Super, super globby. Just really cover it up. It's gonna be a lot of leaves. It's gonna be a really healthy, oops. It's gonna be a really healthy branch on the tree. It's gonna be very globby. Covering up that blue because we don't want to be seeing blue. All right, it's working. Make sure that there's some yellow here that would justify the branch coming over. Okay, I need more yellow. I need another branch, but it's still kind of wet. And I need to, so instead of just putting more yellow, I'm gonna move on to another color for a minute, just cause, why not? I'm gonna consider these three to be pretty much done. So my pine trees are towards the end there. But I'm still gonna work on the trees that are more in the foreground and on the foreground. I'm having a dyslexic moment. The background is when it's far away, and the foreground is when things are closer. So I'm going to be working in the foreground. I'm going to go here with the orange tree. Now what I'm going to do that is going to be pretty cool, I think. It's going to have a nice little look to it. Is I'm going to add a little white to my orange. And what this is going to do is lighten up my orange. Ugh. Okay, I gotta move my paint away because I feel like there's not hardly any paint in here, and and then white's gonna go everywhere. So when that happens, move your, oh geez, I got it on the floor. Oh well, I have a wood floor. Okay, right here. So I got some white towards the end. I feel that white is one of the colors I use a lot of. I'm constantly lighting up colors and tones, tints, and shades and all that stuff. I wrote a whole book on the concept, which hopefully you read. It'll make me feel loved if you read it. I worked really hard writing it. So it's a tone, tint, and a shade, which are basically just technical terms for adding white and black and having hues and colors. So I am going to make a lighter peach. I have an orange here that was really dark. Now, the more white you add to it, the more light it's going to be. The more orange you add, the darker it's going to be. Okay, right here, see the difference? Now I'm just going to be very sparing, and this is going to have the same concept of this green tree. I'm going to try to put effort in covering the blue areas. And then by doing it, it's gonna work. So I don't want to cover up all my orange. I don't want to cover up all the work I did. I like the work I did. I think it came out pretty good. This is a hill right here. So there is blue here, which would be cool to leave it. But since it's a hill, there would be like dirt and rocks and land. So like we don't really see the blue. So all that blue here, as cool as it would be to leave it, I'm still gonna cover it up. Now, the edge of the hill is going to be like Miat, right? So then this is going to be sky, like we can see we're at the top of the hill, almost like we're hiking up the mountain. So I could go just a little bit and leave it, you know? Let it be. So this tree is very similar to what we did here. On this side, we went really dark. And on this orange tree, it's like the same. We add the dark color and then we go back with the light color. Now, I can go kind of over the blue a little bit with this because I'm globbing it on. Super glob. That's why it works. Lots of globs. Just means it'll take longer to dry. Make sure that each of your globs has its own personality, but yet still kind of falls in the same idea of the shape, and where they have like their families, like, you know, leaves that came from the same tree. It would be very sporadic too. This one is more of a dotty versus a swoosh. Just trying to cover up all the blue I see. So if you were to do this painting and you were to do it with like a young child, you can do this in a way, this whole same basic idea, and maybe you could use finger paints if you wanted, or, you know, paint brushes. They're a little bit older and they're like, you know, like they're 3 or 4 and you feel confident they can hold the brush. Might be easier. But you can use this as a learning tool. So each one of your trees is like, this is peach. So then the kid says it, like you have it and you keep asking the kid, what color is that? Peach. And then you have them and they're working with the peach color and they say it, and every like minute or so, wow, that's an interesting color. What color is it? I mean, it does get annoying, but you know, it's just kind of how I taught my kid when she was really little, when she was starting to utter words that made sense at around 1.5 years, 2 years more, till she was really, and I would ask her, she speaks Spanish, I'm bilingual, so it was very important for me to do that. So with her, when we did things like this, like she had her crayons or whatever, I did a lot of repetition with it, and a lot of repetition was good, and yeah, having them look at it, play with it, and then tell you the word, you know, it's very sensory. So this is a good experiment for that. Also, if you are interested in being bilingual and working on other languages, this is also a good way. Like yellow, amarillo, green, verde, azul, blue. You know, while you're working on it, I feel like it helped me. Okay, it's all dotty. I know it's dotty. So I feel like I've covered quite a bit of blue here, and I'm going to continue working. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, remember how we had ideas where the branches were going? So now I'm going to start adding more light colors to the tops of those branches of where would they be. There's going to be more lighter areas to the tops because the sun is high in the sky right now and it is shining down. So because of that, the tops of my branches want to be a little bit lighter than the bottom ones. See what I'm doing there? And I'm going to go back and forth with many different colors. And I still want it to be sporadic. So even though it's really light in the top, I still want there to be like some oranges. I got a cluster. Oh, there's a big cluster. So I'm going to need to continue working that. This is totally a cake. Now, I don't want to have a lot of blending with my color here, so I'm going to allow it to dry. Now, there are many things you could do from here. I'm going to give this a moment to dry. I was thinking it would be super cool to add some birds. You could add a mountain if you wanted to, but I'm just, for this particular one, I'm feeling like the birds, because I went on a hike about 3 days. It was today, Thursday. It was Tuesday, and I saw a hawk flying, and it was pretty cool. Like as I was hiking, I went down a path and I looked up, and this was the gist of the idea of what I saw. And so I kind of want to redo that, because when I saw that hawk up there, I was like, oh, it's so cool. It's so awesome. Now, the hawks have white, brown, and a touch of black on them. They're spotted and stuff, and their beaks are yellow. But this hawk, when I seen it and I was walking down the street, it was like a gravelly road. It was black because it was kind of really high up there, and it was circling, and it was very rigid. And mostly felt like I saw the color of black, of a dark blue. I really saw more like this shade. But in order to stand out and be different, because I am doing Impressionism, I'm going to paint mine and do mine black. And the brain is just going to pick up on it, you know, pick up that it's, you know, it's its own unique entity. So I'm going to go over here. I am choosing to use my little tiny pointer brush, which for me is a liner brush that I'm using. I'm going to load it with just the tip. I don't need to put a lot of paint. I'm not going to press hard on the canvas. It's going to be really light. So I'm going to go here and let's see where. Now you could do a family of hawks, but I have noticed throughout time that they're usually, when you look up and you see one, he's doing his little circle and he's looking down for food. They're usually, it's like just usually one. Maybe you might see two together up there, but they kind of are like have their own space. So on this one, I am going to choose to just do one. So got it loaded. And I'm going to go here. And I am going to, I'm going to do it right here, or I could do it right there. I could do two birds, but I think just one hawk would be good. So he's got, I'm going to put him right here. He's got a little bit of a body. See how I made a line? Then he's got some, I'm going to need to turn this guy because I feel like I want to put my hand down and everything's wet. So just to make it easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and turn my canvas. You don't have to if you don't want to on yours, but it'll be easier for me just to work in this section. Make sure you're still on camera so you can see everything I'm doing. Yep. Okay, so I did a line. That's going to be his body. Now, the hawks have like fanny feathers. So because of that, I'm going to make a little bit of a fan here. There, really fanny, okay? So then, I'm going to make, take it a moment. Okay, so he's got, the guy's going this way, right? So he's got his wing, and it comes out, and then it kind of fans. You see this? And it like fans kind of rounded a little bit. That's good. Just some more paint. Notice how I'm not pressing really hard with my brush. I'm just barely touching it with the tip of the brush. Now this little guy wing over here is going to be the same because he's tilted. He's kind of, you know how like they turn with the air pressure and they'll let the air pull them. Like they don't flap their wings. They just kind of glide. That's what he's doing. He's on like a turn. So because of that, this wing's going to come out. It's not going to come out super, super far. It's only going to come out like meow-ish. And then it's going to be the same as the other one. See that? Yep. It's going to be a little bit less. He's got this one was too rounded. I'm going to put a little one there. There. Now he has a little bit of a rounded head because he is so far away we can hardly see him at all. He does have a tiny beak, which if you can get it super pointy. I mean, we're talking the pointiest of the points. And there's the beak. So do you get it? So we're looking at his belly. So like if we're looking up at him, we can see his belly. Then we see his butt. He's got kind of a thick body. And that's it. That's how we do a hawk. Now we could, hawks, they eat like rats and groundhogs and stuff. We could add another bird in here to give a little bit more dimension. So like we could probably add one here. Not like, I mean, if you added another bird here, it would be as though he was trying to hunt it. Or, you know, like aerial fight that the bird's coming to it or something, but I'm just not feeling that because when I was walking around, and it's not really what I saw. So I'm just going to say that there are two birds, but they're over off doing their own thing. So I'm going to put them here, and they're going to be like super, super far away. This little guy. He's going to be, where am I going to put him? Maybe. You know what we could do? We could put a duck. I mean, what kind of bird do we want to paint here, right? So, I got this painting over here that I painted a long time ago that I can reference. So, check this out. Look at these guys. Isn't that cute? I know, right? Totally cute. I had a boo-boo because remember how splattering the paint, I accidentally splattered some white paint. It was totally sad. But anyways, you see how the birds are like their wings? They're all in different stages of how they are moving their wings. Some are high, some are low. That's kind of what we could do over here. We could say that there is a lake nearby and we can see the ducks. But maybe there's like, lovebirds. There's two of them together, I think I heard somewhere that they mate for life. So how about we do one where the wings are up and one where the wings are down. Wouldn't that be totally cool? And we can have them going, let's say we're going in this direction. So let's pick a really cute one here. Which one is the cutest? I am feeling this one. I think he's cute. He's cute. This one's cute. I like that one. That one's cute. I like this one. Okay, so it's going to be very easy. We can do meow and meow. So we want a line. And then that, you know what? When I did that line, it made a really nice little triangle there. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to give it a little bit of a body because they're kind of chubby guys. And then, so I have a triangle with a line and then a rounded body. It's got a little bit of a bump on its head. And then I want to give it some wings that are going down. And I want to give it a little bit of a tail, just tiny tail. And then I want to make this head up here just a little bumpy. There we go. And there's a duck. Yep, I like it. I think he's cute. Let's do another little ducky with its wings up. So like they're lovebirds. So we'll do the other little ducky. Should we do him up here? I don't want him like the hawks coming after him, right? Let's do him down. No, I don't know. Off center. Like if I did him here in the middle, it's like it's pointing. It's weird. I kind of want things to be interesting looking. So because of that, I'm thinking here. I don't know. Decisions. I mean, I could put him here. What if we put him here as a little... And that would make a triangle. Remember how I told you in my other classes how prime numbers and triangles of focal points are good ideas? So I have 1, 2, and if I could do something down here, it would give a 3 effect. And the triangle, when you have a triangle effect, it draws the eye and it moves the eye across the painting, and it's just more visually stimulating. So let's try to keep this guy low, and that'll make the triangle. So I'm going to use this guy, and I'm going to paint him. We just painted, that dude was this one right here. So now we're going to paint this guy with his wings up. So it's basically the same exact as we did before with the body. And I'm going to make the, which way are we going to make him? Like I'm going to say that he's going in this direction because the pond is over here. And they're going from one to the other, and they're lovebirds, and they're hanging out. So they're going to be going in the same direction. So right here, I'm so scared. Just gotta be brave. Remember to breathe. Oops. Okay, I got the head. Got a body. I need to set this down. There we go. Make sure you don't have paint on your hand. It's got a fat little body. He's gonna have a little tail. And then he's got his head. And I'm gonna see if I can give him a little beak. And then I'm gonna give him some wings. And they're gonna go up, okay? We're gonna do like a check mark almost. A little, okay, so the check mark. Going to be a little skinny. So that wing is the farthest one away. So that would be the right. Now I'm going to paint the left wing. And it's going to be going back a little bit. And it's going to be a little bit bigger. See what I did there? It's a little bit bigger than the other one. Yep. I like it. It's good. I'm going to leave it. I could make the wings a little bit bigger though. Thinking make them a little longer. And see at the back of the wing, I'm making it a little rounded right there. That's the kind of on purpose. A little bit rounded. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. And now I have a triangle. Do you see the triangle forming? It'll move the eye a lot more. If I were to put another bird like here, I would have a square. But I feel that painting, when you put focal points and you do them in prime numbers, it seems to work out better when it comes to focal points. So I wouldn't really want to put 4. If I put 4, then maybe I'd want to do a 5 somewhere else just to keep it going. I was told this when I was at the university, and I thought it was a bunch of hooey with the prime numbers and focal points and all that. But as time has passed and I have developed my craft and gotten a little bit better at it, I just feel that, yeah, focal points and prime numbers and in triangles tend to just, in the end, I'm much happier with those paintings. And at my craft fairs, my gallery exhibitions, they always seem to, I do better. Okay, so I was trying to kind of bide some time so that this can dry, and it's just not drying. It's taking a million hours to dry. I do want to add more colors and make it pop way more, but I really feel I need it to dry more. Otherwise, it's just going to blend on the canvas. That's not what I'm going for. Now, with these ones, I am not really going to add an extra color. The reason why was it's not picking it up a whole lot on the camera, but here I can see all my brush strokes. I see a lot of different brush strokes in the tree, and so there are some areas where it's dark, and then other areas where the paint applied and then it pushed itself off. Like I applied paint and I swooshed a little and it pulled the paint. So by pulling the paint, it was giving me some lines within the brush stroke. So because of that, I'm just going to leave these 3 alone. And so I'm going to work on this tree, and this tree, and give a little bit more definition. And just work on it as much. And then when you get to a definition that you really like, then stop. Sometimes I feel like I have continued to paint too much and the painting can go south really quickly. So you need to know when is a good time to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and try to dry this as fast as I can, but, you know, to the point. I recommend that you do the same thing. Okay, so as I was drawing this, I was thinking to myself, if we put a hot air balloon in there, I think it would be totally awesomely cool. I was in Utah, and we were in, what's it called? Park City. We were in Park City, and it was in the fall, and we went to this festival, and it was a hot balloon festival, and it was really totally awesome. There's like 100 balloons there. It was totally cool. The leaves were turning. It wasn't a field, but it was next to the mountains, because, you know, Park City, it's all covered with mountains. But anyways, I think that would be totally cool to add to this painting. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, to stay in the integrity of the fact that my animals are in black, I'm also going to do the hot air balloon in black. You don't need to. What I'm showing you is the basic idea on how to do it. But go ahead and use whatever colors, because if you like use pops of colors, this can totally be really cool. So right now I'm just going to kind of roughly do, you know what, maybe I should do color. We'll see. I'll do it in black. If I hate it in black, I can always paint over it when it dries. So I'm just going to show you the basic concept. Now remember how I talked about the triangle and I talked about prime numbers? Well, I'm going to continue to do that. I'm just adding more elements here. To make it easier on myself, since the paint is wet, I will be painting it upside down. Don't worry, it won't be hard. I'm really simplifying this. It's going to be super easy. Trust me, you can do this. Even though that the painting's upside down, it'll still work out. Okay, here we go. I could put one here, but if I do that, I should elsewhere, right? Remember how we don't want to make boxes, we want to make squares. We'll put a big one here, and then I'll put some little ones. And then by putting extra ones in there, the square will still be there, but then I'll have other focal points. It can still make different triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make one of these, like a light bulb. See what I did? A wishbone. I made a wishbone, a light bulb, kind of comes in and then it goes around. Going to cover it. See that? I made a light bulb. Then I'm going to, under my light bulb, I am going to make a square. And I'm going to fill in the square. And then I'm going to go and attach my square to the light bulb. Here. And right here. And then I'm going to put a little head in here. So I did a square, attach the square, I put a circle in the middle and with a line for his neck. Very easy. A light bulb, a square, two lines, a circle, and a line. See that? So now I'm going to fill in the balloon. Now the thing with doing this in black would dictate that the sun would be on the other side. So that's why doing this in full black is not going to be super a good idea, because the sun is kind of straight up. I'm going to go ahead and make this balloon just a little bigger. I feel like a little bit bigger would be cooler. Yes, there we go. I like it, it's cute. I still have my box, don't want that. So I'm gonna put some other hot air balloons. I'm gonna put one right here and I'm gonna make it smaller. I'm gonna put, remember we do a little light bulb. Can fill in my little light bulb for the moment. I do a tiny little square. And then I do two little lines. And that one is going to be so far away that we can't see people. We just don't see people at all. It's just so far away. We don't see a lot of detail. Let's do another one. We're just going to dot the sky with these. Do a little one right here. He's gonna be so tiny we can't see any details. He's a little light bulb, and then he's got a box. And I'm not even going to attach the strings or anything because it's so far away we can't see none. So, 1, 2, 3. See the triangle? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Do you see how all these shapes are creating triangles? Yeah, I like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is not a prime number. 6 is not a prime number. But I've got this triangle, I've got this triangle, the birds are in a triangle, these guys are in a triangle. Yeah. We could add another little guy, another little one. Like far off, we could add a little guy right here. Little one, little light bulb, and a tiny dot. He's even further. The smaller they are, the further they are away. Add a little bit bigger guy here. I don't know if you can hear that. I have a little birdie and she's calling to ask for some food. She's saying, come hang out with me. So she's over there chirping away. I'm almost done with this painting. When I'm done, I'll hang out with her. I just fed her right before this. And she must have heard a noise or something. I think it was too loud and I startled her. Okay, so I'm not attaching any strings on these ones. Like these ones, yeah, because they were bigger. But this is too far away. Too far, we don't see anything. Which means these ones are too close in size. And because I can see the strings here and I don't see the strings here, I'm going to go ahead and make this hot air balloon just a little bit bigger. Okay, turn it around and see how it looks. Perfect, perfect, I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it, yes. Now I think to paint this, it might have been better had I have painted orange in the sky maybe. Because of these being in black. But I'm kind of digging it. I'm kind of, for the idea of impressionism, they're all going good. Now, if you wanted to change this, you can make you do the exact same format and the idea how I showed you. The only thing is, instead of using the color black, you would just use the colors of what you'd want the balloon. So if you'd want like a red balloon, then you just paint it red. But it's still the same shape. It's still the same idea of like placing them with the triangles and the prime numbers, and the same idea with everything. It's just instead of using black, you would use the color. But like the ones that are really far away, they really just, yeah, they're farther away. They're darker. We don't see them. I think it works. Impressionism. It's how you want it to be. This is what my world of Nog looks like. Let's see, have these? Yeah, they've dried enough. Okay, so now I think this is a really cool effect to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have some green, and then I'm going to add some yellow in with my green. And so it's going to lighten up the yellow a lot, or the green, and it's going to give it another shade for my tree up here. I'm kind of starting to feel as though I'm really liking this tree. It just seems to work, and I'm really liking the vibe of it. So I'm thinking I might just let the yellow tree be the way it is, because it's working for me. And the concept of all of this with the impressionism, yeah, I'm liking it. It's working. So I got my brush. It's clean. I have the yellow and the green, and I'm going to mix them together. And see how it's turning lighter? It's really lightening up that green. Still want to make it a shade different than what I had. So I'm going to wipe some off. I got too much globbed in on there. I'm going to do a tester. No, it's too close of a color. So I'm going to go ahead and add, instead of adding more yellow, I'm going to add some white and lighten it up and see where we go from there. It's almost like making dough and working with the flour and all the ingredients and just adding a little bit of time and a little bit of time, this and that, and seeing where we go to get a good texture to what we want. Ooh, I'm liking this color. It's kind of minty. Yeah, it's coming out really nice. Notice how when I'm mixing I have space, but I'm not taking up all of my palette space. I still am trying to still keep it together so I still have space on my palette. I like to be able to paint an entire painting with using one palette. I find it's easier for me to have all my colors together in one place. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try to focus on the tops of the branches, because that's like the sun is kind of going down on us. So trying to mostly just cover up blue, all the areas of blue. Okay, so that's a branch there. I'm going to say there's another branch here. So my main focus is to try to figure out where the branches are and at the same time cover up the blue areas. If I overlap into the orange, that's awesome. Overlapping is good. I want to make sure that this tree is over onto in front of the orange tree. Okay, kind of came down a little bit. So now we're going to say there's another branch right here. And this branch is kind of more facing us a little bit. Like it's coming towards us. And we'll say there's another branch over here. And there was a little bit over here because we're not seeing the base of the tree. We're just like the middle of the tree. This is like the top right corner of the tree. And then you can have a random little leaf randomly. You know, like little green ones can be sporadic, but for the most part we want to not have a whole lot of sporadic, just a little bit. Okay, I'm liking that. That works. Okay, so I'm going to let that be for a minute. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go with that peach that I had. And this time, we already had added some white. Let's see. We're going to do some chemistry here. See what happens if we add some yellow to that peach. Oops, I can tell my paint is starting to get old. It's very thick. Ugh, I have issues with my paint. Globby mess. Oh, geez, too much. But you know, we could add to some of the orange, really. Could add some yellow in there. Okay, so I washed my brush, I wiped it off. I'm going to mix it with that peach, see what goes on. I added too much. Take a tester. Ooh, that's kind of cool. A little mustard in there. Now, going over the green, you kind of do have to put like a lot. Glob it up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going. Oh, geez, I made a big glob. It's okay. It's going to be a big branch. So I'm going to do the same what I did with this tree. I'm going to try to, where the tops of my branches are, is where I'm going to add this color. Overlapping is good. So they kind of are grouped together a little bit. Really trying to also take advantage of covering up some of those blue spots. That looks good. Okay, I am going to give it a quick little dry so we can go with the next step. Alrighty then, when I was painting, I feel as though I have too much of this blue showing. So I still have some of this original paint. I'm going to try to see if I can cover up some of this blue area because there is supposed to be land there. So we don't want to see sky. Make sure we can hide all the sky. That's looking great. I like that. There. Okay. So I feel this has a minute that I still need to dry, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to dry this really quick, and I'm going to add some color to these shapes because the sun is not on the other side of us. So I'm going to make these hot air balloons look more 3D. So I'm going to add some red onto my palette here. I'm not going to need a whole lot of red, just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead, and this time I've decided to use my filbert brush. The reason why this is a filbert is because the bristles here are very tightly compacted, and they're short, and they're little, they're bright. Bright means they're short, they're little, they're compacted, and then filbert means it is not a square brush, but it is not a round pointy brush either. It's kind of in the middle. So it's a bright filbert, which that doesn't refer to brand at all. That just refers to type of brush it is. I prefer to paint with bright filbert brushes all the time. So I'm going ahead and painting this guy red. Painting my light bulb red. I'm going to try to stick within the color palette. Now, when I was at the festival and I saw all the balloons, every balloon had its own unique image on it, which you can totally do that here. I don't know if I want to. I think I might. There we go. Oh, isn't that cute? Now the black wasn't all the way dry, so I can see it kind of coming through, which I think is fine. It's working. It's kind of a swirliness to it. Let's see. I want to stick in a color palette, right? I mean, I was thinking a purple would be totally awesomely cute with this. And we could go like a turquoisey color, which, yeah. So, I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush, get all of that red off. Now, instead of using my palette, because I need just the tiniest bit, and I do have a clean brush, I'm just going to swipe off a little bit here and just have a glob, and then use that glob to just kind of paint this in here. Just a little glob. Now, because this black over here has dried all the way, it's not mixing, and I'm totally cool with that. I think it looks fine. This is what hot air balloons look like in the world of Nog. And you can be more detailed. You can put stripes and little characters and little things on your balloons. You can put words, but they're so tiny and they're so far off in the distance that I'm just going to keep it simple. Let's keep it simple and easy. Let's let her be what it is. Okay, so that was cute. I'm going to do the same thing with some purple. I'm going to go ahead with my, since I don't need I need hardly any, I have a really clean brush. Make sure that if you're doing this, that your brush is really clean, so you're not mixing colors with your tube. There we go, a little purple. Every one of these has their own little identity as to who they are. Now, if you needed to, you can go ahead and fix the edges a little bit and make it extra rounded. If they're not rounded, it could be that they're deflating or that they're kind of being moved in the wind. So don't worry about getting these perfectly super round, because it's going to give it just more oomph, right? The more it's like uniqueness. Now this one and this guy are so far away that I just can't see them. So there's no detail. And the little guy in here, I'm going to keep him in black because he's just, you know, it's not so much detail. And I didn't see, when I saw these hot air balloons go up, there was never just one person. There were several people within these balloons. But this is a painting. Hyper-realism. So I'm all good with it. I'm going to go in here with some brown. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the basket. little square with brown. And now you can go in with a whole lot of detail and everything, but I'm keeping these very, very light and simple and just very, very basic, very light. They're so far away that I don't see a whole lot of detail. Trying to make sure those corners are nice and pointy. And yeah, there you go. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to leave this guy black because he's close enough that I see it's purple, but it's far enough that it's that I don't see a whole lot of detail. So I'm going to go again with some brown. Remember, make sure if you're doing this method, make sure that your brush is really clean, that you don't have a lot going on with it, like of different colors and stuff, so you're not adding extra colors into your tube of paint. Yeah, I'm just leaving it. And that's it. I'm going to keep the hot air balloons as basic as possible. I'm not going to paint anything else. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm getting really close to finishing. Oh, oops, I wiped paint over here. Okay. I'll make sure I clean up just a little bit. Okay. This still is not as dry as I would prefer it to be. For my next step, I'm going to add some red into here and stuff, and I'm probably going to add some yellow into there. I think I feel like I need to add a little bit more dark color into here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to dry these trees a little bit more because I started getting some blending in here, and I don't want that to occur in my painting. Make sure I'm still in the view of the camera. See if you can still see me. Yes. Dry, but it's good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and with the red that I have, I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna add some red into this tree. Now I'm making sure I wash my brush good and I wipe it good. So I had that dark color on there and I can make a purple and I don't want to do that. So I got my red. Now I'm going to think underneath of where the highlights would be is where I want to add these red. Now I do want random swooshiness everywhere of red, but I still want to have, I'm trying to make these branches to stick out as branches. There we go. Underneath where the branches would be. Trying to cover up some of that blue. It's okay to have a couple random ones, especially to see if I can break up that line a little. Gotta really glob it on when it goes over a dark color. Coming on really nicely, I like it. It's really starting to take shape. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make a tiny bit of pink. Okay, so to make pink, I'm gonna add, I need some more red. And then I need some white. I had this bottle sitting upside down, so it's gonna pour a little bit easier now. I'm gonna mix pink and white together, and it's gonna make, or red, I'm gonna mix red and white together, and they're gonna make a pink for the highlight. And I'm going to try to add them to the top. I'm trying to add them sparingly, randomly, everywhere. Okay, now I feel like I've covered up enough of the blue. I'm really liking it. Make sure, don't forget to do the sides. I'm liking that. It's working. Impressionism, huh? Fun. I like Impressionism. It's really fun. Very easy. Easy, easy, easy peasy. I'm going to wash my brush. And this is dry now because I used the middle earlier at the very beginning. I'm not going to use a whole lot, but I'm going to go back into that orange because I am trying to mostly make an orange tree. So I'm going to go back in there and just kind of orange her up. And I'm trying really hard not to swoosh anything. Trying to just dab. Need more orange. So I'm being really light with my method here. I want areas where there is orange and it's bunched up together, and areas where there's just a random orange leaf all by itself. And that's really how you get those branches to start working. Yes, that's it. It's happening. I'm liking it. And break up some things and some colors. Yeah, I'm liking it. I think we got it. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. I'm super happy with that area. Now I'm just gonna work on this one and a little bit here, because I gotta make it make sense, right? That it's coming over. So I don't waste paint. I do have some yellow here that did not mix in with the brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that and try to get this branch. Oops, it did mix. Oops. Okay, never mind, it mixed. We need fresh yellow here. Wash my brush good, because I'm going into a highlighty color. So I'm going to go with my yellow. Try to see if I can glob over some of that brown there. Yeah, really just cut. These ones were very sporadic, and I just wanted them to feel that they were part of the family. Yeah, I feel like that works. It makes sense. Alrighty then. Yippers, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go back in with some dark green over here. I'm to the end of this little guy. Oops. Use the last of my green. Oh! Alright, so I'm gonna wash all the yellow off my brush and wipe it. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna try to be underneath my highlighty areas where I'm really gonna glob it up. I do also wanna keep in mind about those blue dots. So really, and remember, you bunch it up in areas. Remember how I gobbed it up into some areas and left it alone in other areas? Every so often, to have a dark leaf in the highlight area is okay. Oh, big glob. Some areas where I have too much of the color, I kind of do want to break it up just a little bit. Trying to be very big, broad, and open with what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to put in a lot of effort of thinking too much, just trying to let these branches happen. Let it be what it is. But I do want groupings. Make sure you get the sides. Oops. No swooshes, just dabs. It's working. I'm going to go back into this bright color a little bit and touch up some things. I feel like this got a little too much. There we go. Just kind of continue, you know. It's a lot of stuff going everywhere. Try to break up some lines if you see areas where it looks like some lines are starting to occur. I like that. I feel like it's working. I'm happy with it. Yeah, I feel I got some overlapping going on there. feel like there's a little bit of a line that started occurring here, so I'm gonna go up here and try to get rid of that line a little bit. I need to go back into some darker color there. Gets a little dark up there. Right, so I got some dark up there. There, that works. Okay, so from here, we are almost all the way super finished. I'm going to show you how to make some bark and some of the loggy parts of the trees that we can see like it's kind of popping out a little bit. But before we do that, I strongly recommend that you dry your painting all the way as much as you can get it, because by doing this next step, if you have it all the way dry, the next step, it's going to come out looking way more awesome. Was painting, as I was drawing, I noticed there's a spot in there that's kind of like not overlapping. So I'm going to go ahead before I forget, and I'm going to go in with my really dark color and just try to see if I can, oh, I almost don't have that dark color anymore, and just cover up some of this green because I really want it to overlap here. There we go. There, like this tree is in front of that tree. Don't want to see any blue. There, that's good, much better. I'm going to continue drawing. We're almost done. Another boo-boo I would like to fix. I noticed that when I was drawing it, But some of my yellow seems to still have some of the orange from when I had a boo-boo, and I thought that I had a good quality yellow when I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead, since I do have a good quality yellow right here, I'm going to try to see if I can glop it on there a little bit and cover the brown areas. There. There we go. Yeah, I'm liking that much better. Okay. And continue drying. All the way dry, but it's pretty good. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to take my brown that I used earlier. I'm going to put a little bit on here. Oops, excuse me. That was silly. I'm going to go ahead with my liner brush. Now a liner brush is a brush that has that's really skinny. Let's see. Yeah, this is the liner brush I'm using today. It's really skinny, comes to a point. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make some branches. Now this paint isn't all the way dry, it's still wet. The goal of making branches is I don't want to see the whole skeleton. I just want to see bits and pieces where it's showing through between the branches. So there's a little section right here. I'm going to see where remember how we made branches? I'm just gonna, little lines, I'm just gonna goop it on in there. And we just see little sections of lines of where the branches are, but we don't see all of it. A lot of the tree is kind of hidden from us. And now this trunk's gonna be coming all the way down. So just little lines to be the hint of this is like that they would have been connected, and here's how. But we don't want to see everything, you know, like we want to see little bits and pieces of branches. We don't want to see like everything, because a lot of it's covered with our leaves. And if you make a branch that you hate, like I'm not liking that one, you can always then cover it up later. Like right now, let's just work on these branches. So just the basic idea. Same here. On this tree, I'm going to do a they're all like, they're skinny and it's like they're all coming in on themselves. Remember how I said the trunk of the tree is kind of like over here? So it would be like they're kind of coming together. I do want to kind of make them long. Don't make dots, make them more long. There, just enough to give the basic idea. I like this. Now let's work on this. I don't like this one at all. Just gonna kind of sometimes the branches are a little bit thicker when they come to the bottom. Now I don't like this guy, so I'm just gonna go ahead with my big brush and go back over it. I'm gonna take some pink and just glob right over them. Maybe go back into some yellow and glob right over them and cover it up. See? All done. You know what? I'm liking that. A little bit of yellow is a highlight in here. I'm digging it, the color. So I'm just gonna dab some in different places. Just a little bit of highlight of the color. Yeah. I'm liking it. It's working. Break some things up. Yeah, it's working. I like it. So I'm going to leave it. Now, I am going to do the same thing on this tree, but I'm going to be just doing the trunk. So there's going to just be some areas that you could just barely see the trunk. That's a big glob of paint. Ooh! Oh, hate it, hate it, hate it. It's okay, we'll go back over with the yellow. And we'll glob on the yellow and cover it up. No one will know, it'll be our little secret. That works. Yep. I think I'm going to go again. I'm put some extra fresh yellow onto it a little bit and cover up some of my branches. I'm not liking a whole lot of them. You know, so part of them are covered, so there's, we see you, but we kind of don't, but we kind of do. You're sort of just mixed in there, hidden. Part of the tree, but yet hidden. Makes it more interesting to look at. And there you have it. The tree. I'm liking it. It's cute. She is a beaut. Yeah. And there you go. Trees. Yep, they came out just lovely. I'm really happy with these trees. I hope you're happy with your painting, and I pray that you've had a really nice time, relaxing time enjoying this, because this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed and loved hanging out with you today. It was a lot of fun. I will see you on the next painting, and in the meantime, I wish you all good blessings.